Okay, hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this first webinar of Design Advance series. So the first webinar is on decoding the future of adaptive arenas. As by now, you must have read the competition brief, and you will have an idea like this entire competition revolves around adaptive arenas. So starting with the first webinar, we will also be uh, having a discussion on adaptive arenas around it. So moving further in the webinar, let me first discuss about the webinar schedule. So first we'll be having in-depth insight into the Design Advance 2025 brief. And then we'll be having a brief introduction of archons. Then we'll be moving to uh, understanding what adaptive arenas are. And then following, we'll be having some examples of adaptive arenas. We'll try to learn from the already built adaptive arenas that is there in the world. And then once we understand about adaptive arenas, then we can move to understand how Revit can help us in achieving those adaptive arenas. Followed by question and answer. Though the Q&A, the question and answer is open during the entire session of the webinar. So you can drop your questions in the chat box and we'll be answering all your questions in the end. So moving further, and to start with design advanced brief, uh, I will request and invite Ms. Nikita from Ethos. So Nikita ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Afaq. I will just take a second to share my screen. So I'll need permission for that, please.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Please confirm that my screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So thank you, Afaq, for this platform and welcome everybody to this session. Like he mentioned already, I'll basically quickly break down the brief for you all. So it's easier for all the participants to understand what is expected from the competition and the design task itself. We all know it's titled Beyond the Game, Adaptive Arenas for Tomorrow. So what we will be doing today is, one second, I'm just trying to change my screen.
It's the last slide.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll be going through the table of contents, which is I'll take you to the theme, why we chose this particular topic this year for the fifth edition, the task, guidelines, and of course any questions that you might have. So like I was mentioning earlier, the theme is Beyond the Game, Adaptive Arenas for Tomorrow. The theme is asking all the participants to explore the future of public architecture, and the theme focuses on designing multi-purpose arenas, flexible and reversible architecture, structures that can seamlessly transform, relocate, or disappear based on evolving needs. Now, why this adaptive theme and why not just an arena? So, if you've all read up a little bit about the sports events history, like the Olympics or Commonwealth Games, you would realize that cities across the world actually invest a lot of money in putting together sports infrastructure, and often once these big games are over, these complexes or sports infrastructure lies disused or not used to the maximum as they should have been, and end up being expensive infrastructure as a liability to the city councils and the municipalities. So, with that in mind, it is important to keep in mind that they are multi-purpose, they are flexible, they can transform, they can relocate, they're adaptable, and they're just not single-use and outdated venues, but are actually, using resources more efficiently and are being used to the full potential. So that's the background of why this particular theme. Now, going back through the history of civilization, even thousands of years ago, an arena existed. We all know about these very historic amphitheaters in the Roman and Greek architecture. And then in between, when all the sports took off, we have fancy FIFA stadiums and cricket stadiums, Olympic stadiums. But now with this conscious decision towards, being more sustainable, more resource efficient, we are now in this era of adaptable multi-use venues, and we are already seeing some examples within India and of course in other countries across the world. And this is the era of making this shift towards flexibility. So let's look at some quick case studies so that you get inspired and understand what is really expected from you out of the competition. The first case study that we are doing is the Stadium 974 in Doha, Qatar. We all know that Qatar hosted the FIFA World Cup just a couple of years back, and this particular stadium is made using shipping containers as well as modular steel elements, right? So that means these are modular, these can be disassembled, reassembled, and so on. So flexibility is the key here. The stadium can be disassembled and rebuilt in any other place in a new location, either in the same configuration or in different configurations as well, because it's a modular system. This stadium is also very interesting from the perspective that it avoids the need for air conditioning. It reduces the load because the system is designed in a way that all the seating area is naturally ventilated. The overall structure uses steel that can be recycled and reused post the tournament is over. Let's look at the second example today, which is Air Albania Stadium in Tirana, Albania. And this particular stadium, again, is designed to be a multifunctional venue that is designed to ensure safe, seamless separation of activities, allowing multiple activities and events at the same time. The historic facade also adds value and kind of echoes the form of a Greco-Roman theater, which is relevant to that particular region. The building is, of course, a landmark for both sports visitors as well as cultural experiences for any visitor in the city. Steel design was synced with CNC machinery, ensuring high quality, fast production, so that the building can be assembled in much shorter time. Let's look at a case study back home, which is the Ekana Stadium in Lucknow. It's a indoor multi-sport stadium in the capital city of Uttar Pradesh. And this stadium is used beyond cricket, as some of you might already know. It is, of course, a stadium of excellence, one of the best ones that we have in the country, with world-class infrastructure. But at the same time, the grounds outside the stadium are often used for hosting expos, exhibitions. More recently, the Lucknow Architecture Festival that we all might connect with. And it's often also used for practices and so many other activities beyond just the national and state level cricket matches. So that's another case study to look at in our own hometown. So what exactly is the task? I see some hands being raised. Maybe we can take the questions once I finish running through the slides. Thank you. So the task is, I think we are being repetitive here, but for those of you who might have joined later, multifunctional, sustainable, accessible, future-proof arena. You're invited to design spaces that can transform, relocate, or disassemble as needed, provide as much flexibility as possible to these arenas to host not just that one particular sport it's being built for, but multiple other kind of events. For example, when the DY Patil Stadium in Mumbai, it not only hosts cricket matches, but we all know that Coldplay was also a concert that was hosted quite recently over there. So, that was an adaptation from being a sports venue to a cultural venue, and how more such cases can be taken up. So there are some guidelines and side program, which is of course detailed out in the brief document as well. But for your understanding, let's look at some of the salient points. The site that you pick has to be in an urban setting. It can be any city of your choice across the world. It should be at least 10 to 15 acres, because we are talking about a large scale gathering of hosting at least 40,000 spectators in a major event. Of course, take into consideration the local factors like the climate and cultural context. follow any local bylaws or national building code in the absence of local bylaws, and think of the outdoor and the extension spaces around the stadium that can be used for other events as well, apart from what's happening inside the stadium. Design considerations cannot emphasize more on adaptability and multifunctionality. Scalable, how does your design allow for better crowd management? Is it ephemeral? Is it a reversible and circular design? Can this move or be configured in other ways than what it exists in? Do think about universal accessibility and experience. Cultural sensitivity and architectural identity, so it's responding to the context it is built in. Sustainability, and of course, it needs to be smart infrastructure with digital integration, because we are in the era of that right now. Awards and cash prizes. There are handsome cash prizes for the first, second, and third prize winners. Apart from that, every eligible entry gets a participation certificate. The best 10 entries will be published on the competition website. And also, all the participants who've submitted their entry also get a discount voucher of 40% for a BIM design program. And there'll be recognition for institutes that manage to adopt the competition brief into their classrooms. So, if you haven't registered yet, please go to the website designaddvance.com and register your team. The submissions close on October 29, so we have quite a lot of time from now onwards. And if you have any doubts about eligibility, let me also just take you through that. So basically, any student who is currently enrolled in a UG or a PG program, architecture or allied fields, is eligible. Recent graduates, that means those who graduated in 2023 or afterwards, are eligible. In case you finish your postgraduate studies in 2023, you are eligible provided you do not have more than 3 years of professional experience. This is so that there is a kind of uniformity in the kind of experience that people bring on board as competition participants. You can have up to 3 members in a team, so either single members, 2 members, or 3 members, and you're allowed to make teams from across different colleges or across different batches. That's completely all right. You need not be in the same class at all. So with that, all the very best, and we'll open the floor to questions. We could take them in the chat box, I believe, Team Arcans. And meanwhile, I'll just also take you through some of the questions we pre-received already. So some of you asked if there is any fee to participate in the competition. There is no registration fee. We believe in inclusivity, and this is absolutely free to participate in, no matter where you are based in the world. Postgraduate students, are you allowed to participate? Yes, you are. Both UG and PG students are allowed to participate. Another question that we had received on email recently was if two members from different colleges can come pair up as one team. Yes, inter-college and inter-batch teams are allowed. So with that, if you haven't registered, please scan this QR code on the screen, or you can manually go to designaddvance.in and please register your team. And we will now open the floor for any questions. I had seen
Yeah.
somebody raising their hand in between. So Amrit Panwar has asked, will we get the PPT on email as joined late due to the network? Amrit, all the details that I mentioned about the competition, they are also available on the website of the competition, as well as on the downloadable brief, again available on the website. So it's the same information that I'm presenting today, just for your ease. So maybe we'll just type in the link of the website in response to your query, so you can go there and download the entire brief for your ease. Any other hands raised? I think I'll stop sharing my screen if there are no more questions. Then back to you, Team Arcans, for taking it further.
Okay, thank you, Nikita, for decoding the brief. And also for the participants, if you still have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat box, and then we'll be answering all your questions in the end. Okay, so allow me to share my presentation. Okay, now I'll be quickly giving introduction of my company, Arcans India. So Arcans India is a leading technology and engineering solutions provider, specializing and especially focusing on digital transformation for the construction, manufacturing, and infrastructure industries. Well, the company leverages advanced software and strategic consulting to empower to the AEC businesses through smarter design. Also, we have a global presence. So, and we have a more than 550 plus technical resources spread across the globe. And so we are like in almost all the industries, as you can see on the screen. We are into media and entertainment. We are into AEC, that is architecture, engineering, and construction, into manufacturing, into education, and also we are the platinum partner of Autodesk in India. Okay, moving further. So since we have already covered, we have already seen, and Nikita has very well explained about the concept of adaptive arenas. I also have covered some examples, but my major focus will be on the adaptive features of these structures of the case studies that we have covered. So to start with, in order to because as a competition you will have to prepare a design that will outstand among others. So for that you need to understand that why we need to have adaptive arenas. So I believe that there are three questions. If you can answer these three questions correctly, then you will be able to produce the accurate or the right result. So let's try to understand what exactly are adaptive arenas. Arenas, as you know, they are a place where people come together to watch sports, enjoy concerts, and maybe celebrate culture, or maybe for public interactions. And when we add adaptive, it means that it is the concept of flexibility. Whether these arenas are flexible enough to uh, carry out activities apart from the sports, like whether they can be used in the time of calamities, or in the time of urgency, in the time of need where people need shelter. So once you understand that adaptive arenas are of course those which can host multiple type of activities, not limited to only sports activities. So okay, we know that what arenas are, but why do we need that? Why there's lot of uh, we say that I mean like lots of emphasis on creating adaptive arenas. Like this is the reason why, because we for the theme for this year Design Advance 2025 is the adaptive arenas. Now, number one reason is the rapid population growth. You know that now India has become the most populous country in the world, and New Delhi is again the second most populous city in the world after Tokyo. So, with this rising population, generally people really do not have uh, the space for recreational activities. We all know that how physical activities are important for the betterment of human being. But you seeing the congestion in the cities, unavailability of land spaces, people are forced to live in ghettos, right? So this rapid urbanization and population growth has become a major challenge for bigger cities, and which often leads to degraded quality of life. Another important factor that why we need to have adaptive arenas is underutilization of spaces. Like most arenas are used only for specific events and time, and so they remain empty and unused most of the time. So imagine that how much money and how much material have been invested in creating those gigantic structures, and just imagine that they are used for once or twice in a year, and they remain unused throughout the year. They often degrade with time. So it seems like that it is somehow a wastage of money and resources. Also about, if we talk about environmental impact, as you can see that these arenas consume a significant amount of resources to build and maintain. And you can see the how much impact they cause on the earth and on the environment. Like you can see the amount of materials that has been used. Maybe sometimes they are transported from very far and to bring it on the sites. The CO2 emissions and lots of pollutions that has been already happening on the environment. So we need to make the optimum use of these structures. And the another reason that why we need adaptive arenas is to encourage community engagement. That is, uh, because these spaces they can serve multiple community needs. Like for example, people have a habit of going on morning walks in the morning time. But imagine that if you do not have such kind of parks and spaces in your locality or in your society, of course you will not be able to go for morning walk. In fact, one example that I can recall at this time is Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, which is open to public in the morning time, and you will find a lot of people going in the morning for morning walks. So, like that, we can also use these stadiums, these arenas for different other activities as well. So, this will also help us in strengthening public values. And another important factor is the rapidly changing needs. So, we all know that. The number of hazards that is being happening here, and the calamities that has been caused. So recently you must have heard about the incidents that have already occurred, and then which have displaced many people. You can see there the cities are getting flooded, and sometimes there are earthquakes, sometimes there's a fire breakout. So in those situations when we need to relocate people very quickly, we need to relocate people uh, in order to provide them shelter. So just imagine, just take a case of a city where there is a fire breakout. So where will this thousands and hundreds of people will go at once? So for that, these facilities can be used as a shelter, as a mean of calamity support. So like apart from sport events, so what could be the secondary role of these stadium or arenas? Like they can be used as emergency shelters. They can also be used as mass vaccination sites, and they can also be used for hosting different events like job fairs or maybe some other activities. So which has happened, like the Ekana Stadium, which is located in Lucknow, was used twice for hosting Lucknow Architecture Festival, which was organized by Lucknow Architecture Association. So these are some of the reasons, and apart from it, economic viability and return of investment is again a big challenge. So of course, you will not be spending a lot of money just for using that facility for maybe once or twice in a year. So if these facilities can host multiple type of events and can host different type of users, so this will also help us in reducing the payback time, and we can say that the money uh, will be used at right place. So now you must have got a little bit of idea, like why it is important to have adaptive arenas. Why not have them just for sports event and just let them be vacant for the entire year? Now, the third most important questions that we need to do is how we can achieve adaptive arenas. And of course, this will help you a lot in competitions, because this is where you will be thinking a lot about, okay, how can I create adaptive arenas, right? So in order to answer these questions, I have tried to break down this into three parts. The first part is about planning and designing. And this is, of course, the first stage of any construction or of any project, right? So we will have to do the right type of planning. We have to do a right type of design for creating those adaptive arenas, because this is the first step. If your first step is wrong, then your second and third step will have an impact of it. Once you have done correctly the planning and the designing, now the next part that comes, which is again a part of, which is very important part of the competition, is that what kind of material do you choose? So choosing a material is again uh, very important. I will say, because your entire structure will be dependent on that, and the lifespan, the adaptability features all will depend on the materials, because material is going to help you out in changing the activities of this stadium or arenas. Now once you have the right set of materials with you, next comes is that how can you assemble those materials, how can you use those materials, what techniques you can use for building up these adaptive arenas. Now in the next slide I have covered in detail about these three steps, so that you can get an idea like for what point you can consider while planning and designing. So just a second. So let's say planning and designing, so you will have to first pay more attention on the multi-zone and partition layouts. So until and unless if you do not have multi-zone and partition layouts, you cannot make spaces flexible. In order to make space more flexible, of course, you need your project or uh, your building need to be, you need to be separated into different zones, right? So we can say that spatial planning to include adaptable sections and modular partitions to create smaller zones. Now next is interchangeable flooring system. Like this is one concept where of course you have an option for changing the flooring systems. That is, you provide the detail of construction in such a way that that you can easily install adaptable flooring layers. So of course, these adaptable flooring layer means that you can easily change between flooring materials, like you can change between turf, you can change between hardwood, cushion mat, or synthetic surfaces. Now, the example that I am telling you, that they all have already been experimented on the project itself. So if you take an example of Madison Square in US, so there that stadium can easily be converted from basketball to ice skating to hosting different events, right? And also you need to think of smart infrastructure. Also you need to incorporate IoT integration into your design. You need to do that, because until unless you are not leveraging the technology, that is IoT, uh, so I think that you will not be reaching to the maximum output. The next part is building materials. Okay, so when you will be proposing the design, or when will you be having a summation for your competitions, of course a big question will be you to like what material should I use for creating the stadium, for creating arena. Well, if you talk about the general materials that are the a favorite pick for the architects is the first one is of course the steel. Why steel? Because it is durable, it is very much flexible, also it has a very good aesthetic appeal, and also it is sustainable. Now we know all these features makes steel as a favorite material for architects to choose it for creating arenas. Why? Because we need to create large span structures, because these stadiums, these arenas are of course large span, so that can be easily achieved with steel sections. Also another popular choice of material for these creating these arenas is the shipping containers. Now why shipping containers is because these shipping containers are cost effective. Why they are cost effective is because they are already available, they have been already used for different purpose. Now since they are no more required in their operations, so they are easily available, right? And of course they are they are inexpensive compared to traditional building materials, right? Of course, you also have a reduced labor cost if you are talking about these shipping containers. Why? Because the basic structure is already exist, right? So less work is needed for framing and making the structural supports, right? Of course, with shipping containers, you also can see that we have a uh, speed up construction process. Why? Because it acts as a prefabricated structure, right? So containers can be quickly modified and assembled offsite, reducing on-site construction time. Now again, the another important aspect that we have with shipping container is the sustainability and the recycling, because utilizing decommissioned containers reduces waste and supports recycling efforts. So maybe I don't know, Norman, like how many of you will be using shipping containers for your proposal as well, right? So apart from it, we do have some contemporary materials as well, like we have engineered wood, we have FRP, fiber reinforced polymers. We also have biodegradable modular panels as well. So you need to choose material that is actually lightweight, it is actually flexible, durable, and also sustainable. So you can also look for other available modern and innovative materials. Next comes the construction techniques. So what technique will you be using? Will you be using tributed system, the traditional system that we already use for creating structures? Or is it, or also there's some kind of innovation in that also? Like you already know, you are well aware of modular constructions, prefab constructions, like you are developing the components of building somewhere else in a factory, then you are bringing them on the site, and then just you are uh, joining them with different details, and then you have an entire structure ready. So that can be one concept, of course. Like in the case of Stadium 974, of course, I'll be talking about it later on in detail, focusing primarily on the adaptive features of it. But in Stadium 974, you can see that shipping containers have been used, and the technique they have used is the modular construction. Another concept can be kinetic construction. Now, what do you mean by kinetic construction? So it is something that you can practically move the building components. Like if you have a smaller area, then you have partition wall. So if this partition wall can be moved further in order to create large spaces through with the help of some motors or some mechanical systems, maybe retractable roofs, rotating stands, or maybe adjustable seating as well. So this will enables real-time spatial transformation depending on the event. So depending on the need, sometimes maybe you can use it on the outer facade where you can just easily control the width of the entrance, right? And then the third technique which you can use is, of course, is 3D printing. Of course, we are not printing the entire arena out of it, though we can also make components of by using 3D printers. Component as in you can make partition panels, you can also create seat molds, or even some structure elements like joints and brackets can also be created from the 3D printers. Okay, so now let's, since these case studies have already been covered, but I will try to cover them from another aspect. So if we talk about Stadium 974 Qatar, so this is my question to everyone. You can drop your answers on the chat box that what does 974 stand here? So this is a very unique digit, Stadium 974, and it has a uh, very good logic behind it. So if you know about what does 974 stand for, feel free to answer your questions in the chat box. And then having the general information of this stadium, this is located in Doha, Qatar. Of course, it has been designed by a famous Spanish architect, uh, Fanic Irigoyen architects, and the major events that has been hosted here, like if you are football fans, then 2022 FIFA World Cup was hosted here. And this is the first uh, completely movable stadium in the world. Like the entire stadium can be dismantled and can be transported to other sites. Now, quick facts about this Stadium 974 is this, and of course, pay attention to all these details in the case studies because this will help you in fetching out some unique and innovative ideas for your entries as well. So the area of this stadium is 137,000 square meter, and it has seating capacity of 40,000. And the materials that are used, of course, the major material that have been used here is shipping containers. With that, the main structure is composed of modular steel, and it has a lightweight roofing, recyclable and reusable materials. And of course, along with the shipping containers, drywall have also been used. Now, if you talk about the adaptive features, the first feature is, of course, that it is fully demountable. It can be dismantled and can be transported and can be easily again assembled on the another side. Then it has prefabricated steel frame, which allows rapid assembly and deassembly. Then zero waste construction is, of course, because you are not demolishing anything, right? So whatever you are dismantling, you are using it again. So there is a concept of like traveling circus we have, where you create the entire like the entire space as per your need, and then once your work is done, you can just take it back with you, right? So this was the first FIBA World Cup stadium designed for total reuse. And about the conceptualization, again, you can take some of the hint from here as well. Like these shipping containers are placed on the grids. We all know that as an architect and engineers, how grids are very important for us. So these containers are placed on the grids, and also they are color coded. So they are color coded in the sense, like as you can see in a concept, that the red colors are used for toilets, whereas the blue color is used for prayer. So likewise, it has been color coded. Again, so by now, uh, so 974 is actually the number of shipping containers that have been used in the stadium. Apart from it, 974 is also the dialing code of Qatar. So this is really a unique name, which I also like. Now you must have understood the concept behind Stadium 974. These are the floor plans. You can see that it's very geometrical in shape. And the second example which I have for case study is Air Albania Stadium, located in Albania. General information about this stadium is that it's located in Tirana, Albania, and again, it has been designed by a very famous Italian architect, Marco Casamonte. So also, he is a full professor at the Faculty of Architecture, University of Genoa. And the major events that has been hosted in this stadium is 2022 UEFA Europa Conference. Now, the quick facts about this stadium is that the area is around 27,000 square meter and the seating capacity of 22,000. If you talk about the materials, then of course here the reinforced concrete has been used, structural steel is there. Then of course you have prefabricated steel components as well. Also, they have used brisole here for shading as a shading device. Now, if we talk about the adaptive feature, then the feature generally are in the form of planning here. The more emphasis has been given on the planning stage rather than on the material. Is that uh, it has a multifunctional octagonal design. So I will just go to the next slide, and you can see from here that, just let me go for notations. So these are different entries, as you can see. And the idea is that the reason why 8 sides have been given is that so the stadium can be used 8 different type of multiple activities. So these can be the separate entry exit for different activities. So the adaptive features primarily are emphasized in the designing stage. Also, the integration of BIM and the CNC fabrication. So the benefit that we get using BIM is that we have the entire information of the stadium in the digital format. So whenever we need to take a decision on like whether we can have it or we can use it for multiple activities, then of course you have information about different wall, like which type of wall can be moved, which can be which floor, especially which type of flooring can be interchanged. So all these informations are already stored in the BIM model. Also, it is a multifunctional urban hub. It's not only for sports events also, because it integrates stadium into hotel, retail, and public space. Again, you can get an idea from here, like if you are proposing adaptive arena for a specific type of place. So you can always go for like whether the place for which you are making a stadium or adaptive arena is shortage of hotels or retail or of public space, then you can just integrate these spaces also. It's not necessary that once the sport events are done, only then you will reuse it. But of course, you can integrate different activities, just like in the case of Air Albania Stadium. Next, we come to the Ekana Cricket Stadium located in Lucknow in India. Then, of course, this has been designed by Skyline Architects. And the major events that has been done here is, of course, one day international match. Apart from the sport events, the oath ceremony for UP CM has also been done here. And since in the initially I've talked about the Lucknow Architecture Festival has also been uh, hosted here. So you can just get an idea, like it's not only meant for sport events. They can also be used for multiple activities. Now, if I talk about the adaptive features of this, as you can see in the screen, that this is the layout of the stadium. But I have personally attended the Lucknow Architecture Festival. So in the next slide, I have some kind of layouts that were used during LAF. Is you can see that how the empty pockets or the green pockets of the stadium are used for hosting a 3-day event of architecture for architecture fraternity. Right. And so this is the comparative analysis of these three stadiums. So you can see that we have covered these parameters as in design philosophy, material use and sustainability, climate responsiveness, functional adaptability, and of course the construction techniques. So now since we are already running short of time, so let me just quickly move to Revit and let's see how Revit can help us in in creating a successful adaptive arenas. So stop sharing my screen now and I will reshare my screen. Let me just quickly open my Revit and then. So again, this is my open question to all, like in what ways Revit can help you? Okay. So what is the difference that we have, like, of course, like why we are using Revit, why not AutoCAD? So even though if we are using Revit, then of course we cannot create simple walls, simple roofs, simple columns, and that will not work out. Like we do not want to create something tradition. So we need to think out of box in creating those adaptive arenas. So let me just open a new project. So there are three features of Revit which you can use for making for preparing your proposals. One is the massing feature that we have in Revit. Second is adaptive families, and the third one is the design options. Now, why I'm saying design option is because you will have to show your space in multiple formats. Like one space you will have to show for multiple activities. Like in the phase one, it is being used for sports event. In the second phase, it is being used for, let's say, for some emergency needs, and maybe in phase three, the same space is being used for hosting some cultural events. So with that, you need not to create three multiple copies of your drawing. This can be done in a single model, in a single drawing itself by using design options. Okay, to start with the massing, as I was saying that, because of course your design will be some complex, as the options that I've shown you at the case studies which I've discussed earlier, you see the shape of the stadium is complex. It's not like purely rectangular or maybe circular like that, right? So it has a complex shape, it has a complex facade or skin. So to start with, of course, being an architect, you will start from the concept. So if you are using Revit, the best thing you can start as a concept is from the massing inside. So once I go to the massing inside, then there's an option for creating in place mass. So mass is again of two type. You can create in place mass, which means that which is specific to this project, or you can also create loadable mass in the form of families. So once I go to the in place mass, then it says that it is going to enable the show mass mode on, which is by default turned off. So yes, okay, you can say that you can turn on the mass mode, and then I can give maybe mass one, or let it be mass one as a name as of now. And once I activate my mass mode in Revit, then you will see that my ribbon has changed. There are fewer general types here. And then I'll be creating the shape, whatever I want to create. Let's say, for example, if I create a rectangle or a cuboid, so massing, if I take a rectangle, and let me just create a rectangle. Also, let me work in 3D view. So it is better to work in 3D view while working with massing. And if I select this outline and I can go with, just hold on, then we can go with creating a form. So I can click on create form, and then you will see that a mass has been created. Now the advantages with this mass is that the point, the line, and the face can be easily adjusted. They can be easily manipulated. As in, like if I just pick this point from here and move it, so you can see that it is the only one point that is moving. So it will help you in creating flexible shapes and forms, right? Even if I want to change the face, I can select a face as well. So if I select a face, I can then move the face. Also, I can select one edge of my shape or form, and then I can also easily move that edge or side of my shape. So with this, you will be able to create any type of or any form. And the another advantage is that you get, let's say if I have this
Account your screen is
cuboid,
not
yeah.
shared. Can you please
Okay,
share your screen? Yeah.
okay, sorry, I just forgot to share my screen. So,
No worries.
okay, so let me just quickly recall what I have done. Let me delete this and show you the process from the starting. Let me come out from the massing mode. So the first tool that you can take help from Revit is the massing. So in order to activate or use massing, you need to go to the massing and side tab here. Then you need to go to the in place mass. Check here, let the name be mass one, and then I activate my mass mode. Then I need to create any shape or profile. If I need to create a cylinder, then I need to create a circular, or if I'm to create a cuboid, then of course I can simply use a rectangle tool, create a rectangle, and it's better to work in 3D while working with massing. So I'll go to the 3D view, select this profile, and then I will go for creating a form. You can also change the height from here. Maybe I just have it for 5 meter. That's it. And this is what we have here. Let me go to the find more. And let's say if you want to create a cavity inside it. So again, you can go to the level one. Again, I will create a rectangle inside, or maybe I can take a line, use the option for lines, or maybe I can go with the rectangle tool. So I'm just approximately drawing the rectangle with offsets. And if I select this rectangle inside, now I have two options, either to create a solid form or I can create a void form as well. So selecting the shape or the profile, I can go with this time as void form. So as a result, this will create a cutout from inside. Now you can also try with elliptical shape. You can also try with circular. The steps remains the same. And also the advantage that you get is maybe if I need to change this, like I can just change it from here. Simply, I will be picking up this line and then changing it a little bit like this. So this will ultimately be taking the shape of your stadium, right? Maybe. And the another advantage that you get working with massing is that you can convert these elements into walls, floors, right, into different structural elements. Let's say if I've created this facade at the site, which is of course inclined, so it will be quite difficult to make curtain and the panels here. But we have an option that I can convert this face. I can select this face, and I can convert into horizontal and vertical grids. So not only horizontal and vertical grids, in fact I can change the pattern from into, let's say, triangular or into hexagon. So these panels, see, these patterns uh, can be accessed from the properties dialog box. So if you go down, then you can see that I have multiple options, like I have hexagon. So this will take a hexagon shape. Of course, later on you can change the properties of it by changing the rotation and by changing the number of grids that you have here. Apart from it, you can also go with, let's say, a triangle, and you can also go with zigzag pattern. So with this only, you can also further manipulate and create different type of patterns. So for now, let me just quickly go to a hexagon pattern here. And this is, we have something like this. Now, the another advantage is that I can also convert this face. Now this applies to all the faces. If I select this face, or maybe just let me come out from the mask mode. So I will finish my mask and I will come out from the editing mode. And now if I go to the wall, and then I can choose option wall by face. Now, which means that I need to create, let's say, storefront wall. So if I select a face, it will be automatically converting it into a storefront wall. With the pick face only basic wall types are accepted. Okay, it's fine. We can just maybe later on we can convert it. So if I select this again, if I go to the wall by face, select this time. Okay, so there's some error. We'll go wall architecture this time. We will use maybe a basic wall this time. And we will select this face. And then you can see that easily it has converted the face into a wall. Likewise, you can also change and convert your floors, like the top floor that you can see. Stop. So if I go to, let's say, floors, and then you can see that, sorry, floor by face. So I go to floor by face, and now it will be ideally picking up the face. Okay, we have to see why it's not picking up. Okay, so once we have placed the floor, then later on we can convert it into so again I go to the floor and then I go floor by face. Now you can see that I can easily select this surface, and this will convert my surface into a 150 mm thick floor. So if I select this one and select this one maybe down, and then okay, so it has created and converted into a 150 mm thick floor, right? So this way you can leverage these tools of Revit in creating multiple shape forms. Of course, we'll be having more webinars on the workflow. So maybe we can cover in detail in the next webinar how you can take it from here. Further, you can develop it on the later stages. Like from the conceptual, you can go to the schematic, and from the schematic, you can go to the detailed design. So I guess we are left only with 5 minutes. Maybe we can have a question and answer sessions. We can just let me. So let me just go with the questions first. So Tanya, can we have the questions now of the participants? Okay, so yeah, of course, recording will be provided to you on the, I guess, either on the Ethos platform, on the website of the competition brief where you have find it, and yeah, you will get the recording of it. Then we have another questions, number of containers. Yeah, you are right. I asked the questions in the middle of the webinar. You are right. It is the number of containers, and of course, it's the dialing code also.